I worked for Newsday. I was high up in sales and marketing while I was wrestling. Okay, at the very beginning, I worked for the Village Voice. Again, high up in sales and marketing, and that was while I was still in music.
So with our Soda Pup brand, which is targeting suburban moms with 2.5 kids and a dog, we make a product that looks like a coffee cup. It looks like her Starbucks. For a different consumer, we have a brand called USA Canine. We make grenades, and it's for dudes with big breed dogs and pickup trucks and, tough guys with tough dogs.
There's nobody who's really taken the date, and said, we are dates. We're looking to do for dates what Heinz did for ketchup.
I've created something that will help make that chore of changing your bed into an easy to do ritual in the morning.
I'm Richard Gerhart.
And I'm Elizabeth Gerhart.
You just heard from some of our incredible guests this evening. Stay with us for Passage to Profit. I'm Richard Gerhart.
And I'm Elizabeth Gerhart.
Welcome to Passage to Profit, the show that's all about entrepreneurs, small businesses, and the intellectual property that helps them flourish. We have a very special guest tonight. He's really incredible, off the charts in every way. Brimstone, he's a pro wrestler, he's a radio host, he's an author, and the list goes on and on. I am looking forward to a great interview.
I want to ask him what it was like to be a horror model. But anyway, after Brimstone.
So you won't want to miss that. But after that.
After Brimstone, we have 3 incredible companies being presented. So the first one is for pet owners. And I just found out they have a really cool product that'll work for cats too. But I love that they have something for what they call power chewers. So listen for this line of products, because if you're a pet owner, which most of us are, there's a lot there you could choose.
Is that for people or is that for pets?
It's for pets.
Okay.
I guess if you're a power chewer person, I don't know. Anyway.
That sounds like a new wrestling guy, power chewer. Anyway.
And then we have Devash Organics from Brian Finkel and David Zinn. And if you like sweets, who doesn't, right? This is a healthier way. And they have to talk about what they do, because it's really very interesting. And it's something that people are going to want. And then our final presenter is Michelle Whitus. And I hope I said that right. And I am not going to say what she has, but I will say I can't believe that this wasn't invented years ago. And I expect every household to have multiple sets of these by the end of the year once they find out about it.
So way to hook the audience. That was awesome. Okay, now nobody can turn the dial. But before we get to those things, we are going to our IP in the news segment. And so what do we have up first?
Well, since we have a wrestler here, Richard was very cognizant of that and went and found an article about wrestlers and their names and their trademarks and the Wrestling Foundation. So what did you find out?
Well, believe it or not, Fordham Law School is a very well-respected law school in New York City.
I believe that.
And they had a really incredible article about pro wrestling in one of their law journals. So of course, I had to pick on that. And it really talks about trademarks and how the WWE and Vince McMahon, it really kind of manages and controls how wrestlers are able to capitalize on their brand. And so, of course, everything is very tightly controlled. And one of the ways they do this is by ensuring that every wrestler has a trademark to their name, and then the wrestler trademark is owned by the WWE. So there are a lot of people who think that that's really unfair. On the other hand, if you're Vince McMahon, he's famous for this kind of stuff. And but it also just goes to show how powerful trademarks can be in helping somebody control their brand. So
well, some people must get permission to use them, because they mentioned The Rock in the article. Like, everybody knows The Rock, right?
Right.
So I'm not sure what deal he has with them, but we'll talk to Brimstone about that later. And then we wanted to go on to our funny patent, which again is a wrestling patent. So have you ever wanted to practice wrestling a bull without having to use a real bull? well, this guy made a patent for it, but you better have a pickup truck with a hitch on it.
Right. And so the idea is that you have a mechanical steer, it's for steer wrestling, and it's on all sorts of hinges and pistons, and you attach it to the back of the truck, and the truck drives slowly while the cowboy or cowgirl wrestles the steer while the truck is moving. To me, this sounds like a very dangerous activity. It's obviously for training rodeo people, but I guess rodeo is pretty dangerous to begin with. So I don't know which is worse, a horse or a
Well, we
steer
have the
or
naked cowboy in New York City, but I've never seen
Yeah.
that.
You know, that might be a new angle if they were driving down Times Square and you had that cowboy wrestling.
You get pretty scraped up without any clothes on, though. But anyway, yeah, the guy that wrote the patent, where was he? Oklahoma? Or
It was in
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, so that, I think it all kind of makes sense. So
it does. I mean, it's a good way to practice.
it's a good way to
ouch.
practice.
Ouch.
You know, what if they had like a mechanical patent that patent attorneys could practice?
Well,
Now,
since patents aren't mechanical,
not-
that would be rather silly. I would say
That's
pretty soon you
That's a
could
pretty dumb idea.
you
I
could
get
you
it.
could try to do something with software, but yeah, I don't
You
think
don't
you
think
could
that would
wrestle a
work?
patent to the ground. Although in some of the science fiction
right.
stories I've read, maybe.
It's a good thing we have a producer because I'm sure that'll be cut out. But
I
anyway,
hope so.
it's on to Richard's Roundtable, and we just like to ask our guests this evening, if you have a question about intellectual property, now's the time to ask. You're
Or
not
if you want to comment on what we just said,
or if you want to comment on what we just
we
said.
need to start with Brimstone, right?
Let's start with Brimstone. Brimstone, hi. How are you?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say finally Brimstone's made it to the Passage to Profit podcast. I'm super excited to be here. It's absolutely an honor and a privilege. We got to bring up the energy. I'm ready to go, guys. So first and foremost, I want to say, you know, I did hear you guys mention the Naked Cowboy, and although we are not friends, we actually did an event together. It was a red carpet for HBO, and I'm pretty sure it was for Fast and the Furious. We're talking about years ago. And funny enough, the guy came in his underwear with a big fur jacket over it, but he was in his underwear and the cowboy hat, the cowboy boots. And I was just amazed. I said, I don't know how the hell you're going out in this kind of weather, because it was cold out at the time, but he did have that big fur jacket. So anyway, he is a staple in New York City. You know, in terms of, I know you were talking about the whole WWE and Vince McMahon deal. That's been the case for many, many, many years where, you know, if somebody didn't want to give up their name, you know, or they were not interested in staying with the company, or they got rid of the person, they lose the opportunity to use that name. And that's why if you follow certain people's careers over time, you'll see that, you know, they change their names. It might be somewhat slightly different, but different enough where it's not going to, you know, be a problem with the IP that was Vince McMahon owned. So
Wow.
it's very difficult, you know. So you've got a lot of people that their careers just go right down simply because you know, they can't stay on that high stride that they had working with Vince. You know, then they'll go somewhere else, and if they don't get the same push, especially with a different name, you know, now you got an issue. And he's also well known for taking somebody whose character is not necessarily working very well, or even if it is working well, they decide they want to switch it up. They'll pull you out for, you know, X amount of time, and then switch it up, change your look, change your name, and then put you out again under a completely different IP. So, you know, it's a very interesting situation there. And I know a lot of the boys are very unhappy with it. I own Brimstone. I mean, I've been Brimstone for over 20 years. That was one of my issues back when, is I was not going to give up my my trademark at the time. And at this point, I'm not, you know, I have a common law trademark. I mean, I've been around for that long, and I have so many products in the market, you know, everything is, you know, it all comes back to me. So anybody else who does use the Brimstone name, you know, they're
asking for trouble.
They're asking for trouble.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, you've got these guys like, you know, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, you know, legends in the industry, you know, who had to fight for his, you know, his name and his IP. And funny enough, the story goes with him specifically is that he apparently somebody at the main office for WWE let it lapse, and
that's a
one of-
no-no.
yeah, and one of his agent, who's well gone at this point, Scott Epstein, was a fantastic guy. He actually snatched it up and gifted it to Brutus. So yeah, so he's able to use his name. But even if you go out and you use, the WWE logo, or WWF logo, or or somebody bills you under the character name and you're no longer with WWE, and you don't have people get cease and desists. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on with that.
For sure.
Yeah, trademarks are really important.
Kenya, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting because Brimstone brought up a great point about, being a wrestler and having a name prior to going into the WWE and then them switching it up. So I think that happened to The Undertaker, if I'm not mistaken, which he was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. I loved him. And he was mean. He was like mean Mark McAllis. He was mean Mark McAllis. And when he went into work with Vince, they switched his name to The Undertaker, and his career just took off from there. So you talk about, I'd rather be The Undertaker than mean Mark. It's kind of cooler, right? So,
right.
It worked out for him in that case.
It's like branding is everything, right?
Gimmick.
So.
And so, here's the thing. A lot of the guys, when they go in, they're rough around the edges. They might be able to work in the ring, but they don't necessarily have their gimmicks down pat. Other people have the whole package. And those are the guys like you've seen, like The Rock and Chris Jericho, and people that have been around for a long time. And there's a reason why they have that longevity. Then there are people that, they need to be taught, they need to be given a gimmick. They have to be given a persona, and be taught, kind of how to do it. So in the case of something, someone like The Undertaker, he was the package. He didn't necessarily have a good gimmick at the time back when, but this larger than life, huge guy. Vince gave him the opportunity, gave him the whole gimmick, and Taker ran with it and became a legend. So you can't discount what Vince McMahon, the money and the effort he puts into the people that are under his employment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds like Vince is excellent at marketing, but he also understands intellectual property really well. And if you have those two tools together, you can make a ton of money.
Yeah, and if you're good at what you do, I mean, obviously, I haven't really looked at it from this perspective before. And by the way, Kenya, after all these years, now you tell us you're a wrestling fan. But beyond that, it's really smart business and accomplishing what he wants to accomplish. And it sounds like the NFL on steroids, maybe. I don't know.
So we need to ask Adam. Adam, what was your takeaway, or did you have a question?
Well, I'm getting all kinds of great ideas. I'm almost 60 years old. I weigh about 150 pounds. I'm going to trademark the name The Punching Bag, and my shtick, I'm going to become a professional wrestler, and I'm just going to get smashed week after week. That'll be my shtick. It's the total package.
Actually, the total package is taken by Lex Luger, and that would be intellectual property right there. So you don't want to ruin. You don't want to do that.
That was great, Adam. Thanks. Okay, Brian, what do you think?
No, I'm just learning a lot also from what Brimstone said. Very interesting. Personally, was never watched a lot of wrestling growing up, and so just never considered all the legal ramifications of the names and all the politics there. Fascinating stuff. Just listening, and not sure how it would apply to our business specifically, but definitely enlightening and something new that I'd never heard about.
Excellent. So, David?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I was obviously really into wrestling, and I wrestled a little bit in high school, but it is amazing, there are a lot of synergies between a brand owner and, a professional wrestler as well. When you think about it, I never really realized everything that went into a name, and, essentially they're creating their own brand. So it's very interesting to hear and learn all about this as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think celebrity is one of the ultimate forms of entrepreneurism, and so there's a lot of competition. You're trying to get a lot of attention from a lot of people, and the psychology and thinking that goes into that, I don't think should be underestimated.
No. So Michelle.
So I have an older brother. So growing up, whatever he saw on TV, was taken out on me. So I know a
Oh,
lot of
no.
moves.
I
I was
formally
the
apologize,
victim of
Michelle.
I was the victim of all that, especially the slam dunk on the bed. So, and some launching that didn't work out very well. But yeah, I could see how frustrating that could be if you're in it and you're getting all that, you know, fame and everything. And then what happens if you leave and now your name is gone? I don't know how people can survive on that, and changing it must be really challenging. So you can see both sides. You know, the WWE wants to protect themselves and what they've established and built, and then the individual. So it's a challenge. You know, what's the right way to go on that?
Well,
It's
that's, I
similar
mean,
to the music industry. You know,
yeah, I
you've
mean,
got artists
go
recording
ahead.
their own music, but they've got labels promoting it. So the labels oftentimes have rights, publishing rights to the music.
Right.
Right.
So you got to understand, WWE is not necessarily the only game in town, even though they are the biggest and the best and the most well known. If Vince McMahon puts millions of dollars into building somebody up and building somebody's persona, putting it into their brand, and then they decide, okay, my contract's up, I'm going to jump ship and go to AEW or, you know, TNA or whatever the hell else they're going to go, you know, now he's lost all that money that he's invested into this person. So, you know, it's just, it's very similar if you're in a corporate position and somebody is giving you $100,000 a year deal, and that's your contract, and now they're investing all this money into you to help build this, you know, position and to build this area in the company, and all of a sudden, you know, well, I got a better deal from X, Y, and Z, so I'm going to take this and move over there. It's the same type of situation. You're just talking about, you know, IP and a person rather than a,
Right.
you know.
So Brimstone obviously is thinking like a business owner here. So, and we appreciate that. And we'll be hearing more from him after this break. You're listening to Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gerhart. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Passage to Profit. Richard and Elizabeth Gerhart with our special guest this evening, Brimstone. And we were talking just before the last segment ended about really Brimstone's entrepreneurial business owner mindset. And this is a show about entrepreneurism. Brimstone, maybe you could, you know, talk a little bit about what you did to build your career. Our audience is interested in learning how to build their own businesses, so maybe they could learn some lessons from you.
I mean, listen, I've been in business and in entertainment for many years, and you know, one thing that is very important to remember is that entertainers are entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs should be entertaining. I mean, that's the thing I like to say all the time, and it's very true. A lot of people think, well, you're in entertainment, you don't know, you don't need to know you know, business. You go have fun, go wrestle in a ring, or go play music, or write a book. It's not so hard. It's not so complicated. There's a whole big business that goes, you know what I mean, and surrounds every single one of the things we do. Multi-million-dollar businesses, as you just discussed, you know, with WWE in music. You know, you put out a hit song, you're talking billions of dollars. You know what I mean? That's involved in that. So you need to know a little bit of everything. You don't necessarily need to be an expert in everything, you know, business, but you should know a little bit of everything, if not as much as humanly possible. So I've taken it upon myself, you know, to really make sure that I know a lot about a lot. So this way, you know, I never find myself backed into a corner, especially with my own brand, my own businesses. You know, and again, you know, in business in general, and I'm sure everybody that's here on the show today or listening at home who does have a business or has been an entrepreneur or been an entertainer, or you know, they've had an issue where, you know, they feel like they failed at something's happened. I wear those failures as badges of honor. I take them and I utilize them as seeds to kind of take 2 steps back, see what's going on, see what I did wrong, learn from that, and then takes 10 steps forward. A lot of people, you know, they take failure as a, oh, I should get out of this. Maybe I'm not cut out for it. You really need to kind of learn, you know what I mean? Learn from your mistakes and continue to build and move forward.
And
So
you have to believe too in your vision, right? Of what it is that you want to accomplish. And you have to be tenacious about that, right? And so everybody's going to have setbacks. The question, are you building something for yourself and your family and your team, or are you building something for somebody else, right? And, you know, and either way, I mean, it can work out, but I think the entrepreneur likes the idea of building something for themselves.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, if you don't believe in yourself, who the hell else is going to believe in you? That's first and foremost. Second of all, the my biggest thing is and yes, I worked for other people. I did the 9 to 5. I worked corporate positions. You guys are in New Jersey. I'm here on the island in New York. I worked for Newsday. I was high up in sales and marketing while I was wrestling. Okay, at the very beginning, I worked for the Village Voice. Again, high up in sales and marketing, and and that was while I was still in music. I mean, so I my biggest problem was that I'm doing the lion's share of the work, but they're getting the lion's portion of the money and the accolades. So I made a cognizant decision years ago where I said, you know what, it's either all or nothing, and I decided I'm just gonna go for it, and that's what I did. I just stopped doing everything, and then it was just Brimstone all the time, and that's my business. I'm Brimstone 24/7. I've never been happier. And I've built businesses along the way, because entertainment is peaks and valleys. People don't understand that, your career can go up and down. So people need to understand that and prepare for that. So the one thing that I've always done is I've made sure to build businesses around my brand. I put out from a ton of different products that are all branded under the Brimstone brand, that are in all different areas, not just in entertainment, but in just everyday life. You don't necessarily need to know that it's me, like me, the person behind it. As long as you like the product, I'm happy, because I'm still putting dollars in my pocket. Does that make sense?
Brimstone, that was one thing I wanted to ask you about. Well, there are a couple things that it looks like you've done a number of different things. So you maybe go in and out of things, but the one I'm the most interested in asking you about, because I've never heard of this before, is you were a horror model. What is that?
So I'm especially with the Brimstone persona. Again, I'm just a regular guy, just like everybody else. But I have the long hair, the beard, the earrings. And I'm a big dude, so what do you call it? A lot of the time, like I'm pulled in, and I've done horror stuff before, so I'm kind of dragged into the horror scene, which is cool. It's fine with me. And what do you call it? Since I have a good name behind me, I've been asked to do, different shoots for many different things, horror. So I've been the subject of many different photo shoots, which are horror-based photo shoots, and they've been utilized everywhere from in displays, in Trump Towers, and other places all around the country. And the things have sold for big money. I didn't get that money, but somebody got that money. And at the end of the day, it's been an interesting little tidbit, which I don't normally talk about. So thank you for bringing it up.
Well, it's very funny. Just going back to one other thing that you mentioned, which I thought, is your diversification intentional? I mean,
yes.
at Your Heart Law, we never wanted to be dependent on one or two particular clients or one or two particular markets. And sometimes one part of the practice is doing well, the other part of the practice is slowing down, then something changes, but it's always kind of given us sort of a sense of safety, knowing that if we lose a client for whatever reason, then we've still got another literally 3,000 to fall back on, right?
The way I look at it. The way I look at it is very similar. In terms of what I do, think of it as advertising. All right, you have your clients; those are these are the people that are, these are the meat and potatoes, are the ones that are going to be making sure that you are always going to survive. You know what I'm saying? You have your big guys, but they come every once in a while. You know what I mean? Every so often you'll hit a big deal and you go, all right, I got that $250,000 from this one, or I got 30 grand from that one. But then you've got the smaller dudes that are paying 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever, and so forth, to advertise with whatever you're talking. I'm just, coming up with something here. But, at the end of the day, you're talking about, these are your meat and potatoes. So it's always good to continuously add on. So the same thing with me, like I said, up and down, peaks and valleys. So, my sauces and seasonings, that line, is always doing well. I know I can always count on that bringing in cash. The Grindhouse radio, I know I can always count on Grindhouse bringing in cash. Same thing with what do you call it? Hound Comics, Hound Comics Inc. I know that's always going to bring in cash. I don't even have to touch it and it brings in cash. The fact is that then I'll scoot out here and I'll go, well, let's try this. Let's do this cologne line, see if that works. Let's throw this out here, do the coffee line, see if that works, see what happens, because that's just a little bit extra. And just in case, even if that doesn't work, I've still got, everything else kind of going on and set in place. So I'm in a good position, and yes, everything is intentional. Some things I've fallen into, I will admit, some things I've fallen into, but other things are intentional. Look, and they all interconnect as well. I do the radio. What's the next, possible progression from radio? Voice work, voice acting. I do a tremendous amount of voice work and acting. I also do on screen. So there's everything kind of interacts and engages with each other. My from wrestling, when I was looking to get out of the ring, I said, look, I was getting up there. I go, I don't want to be in my 50s and 60s and still bumping around in a ring. I want to be, able to kind of take what I've built and go and move with it. What's the next natural progression of professional wrestling?
And Brimstone, I want to squeeze another question in here real quick.
Sure.
For entrepreneurs especially. So when Richard started Gearhart Law, I helped him and I do marketing. We had no business background. We worked in businesses. Richard had been on business teams. And so we're self-taught for business. Are you self-taught? Like, what would you tell an entrepreneur to go get an MBA? Would you tell him to take entrepreneurial classes? Like, how did you become so astute as a business person?
I started my first business at 17, and I learned a lot. I paid attention to what my father did, what my mother did. They were both entrepreneurs, what my stepmother did, and then, like I said, working for major corporations, I learned a lot. And then I utilized that in everything that I was doing moving forward. In music, I learned how to guerrilla market. I knew how to use a microfiche and figure out territories, figure out where I could go. I mean, there's so many things that I've learned along the way. So should people go to school? Absolutely. But there's nothing like real world, experience, and also mentorship. I mean, I love the fact that I've been able to mentor a lot of people in the creative space and had them become very successful. It's very rare that you can make that connection and help people kind of get out there and do their thing. I would suggest getting a mentor. I always think that there are certain areas that you can't necessarily know about, like legal. I know a lot of legal simply for being around for so long. But if I don't have somebody like a Richard or an Elizabeth, by my side, I can't possibly know everything because that's not my expertise. So it's good to learn and build by getting mentors, speaking with people that are doing what you're looking to do, and also learning from your past, learning from the mistakes, learning from your wins. I hope I'm making sense.
Excellent.
Right.
Yes, I know Kenya is probably dying to ask you something.
Yeah, I just heard you have so many different business models, and it sounds like they're all tied to things that you like, right? So
Yeah.
with the comic book stuff. So what advice would you give to someone or anybody who's looking to turn an area of interest that is important to them or a passion project into, a lucrative business model?
Well, first and foremost, I like to make sure that everybody knows, don't think of anything as a hobby. When you think of it as a hobby, that's all it's going to be. Once you get into, if you're going to get into something, understand this is a business. When you first start off, this is a business. Even if it's baby steps, it's a business. So you got to treat it like that. I say if it's something that you're really passionate about and you really want to get something out there, bring a product to market, write a book, whatever it may be. You've got to be ready to and prepared to put in 200%. If you're not ready to put in 200%, just take a step back, because if you're not doing it, it's not going to go anywhere because nobody else is going to do it for you. That's first and foremost. Two, have yourself a plan. You know what I mean? People really poo-poo a lot on putting together a business plan, especially small businesses. A business plan, is going to help you tremendously, and it's going to help you kind of figure out the path that you need to take in order to build that business into a success. I hope I'm answering your question properly, Kenny.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Business plan forces you to, especially with the financials, you got to sit down and think through how are we going to make money? What's the leverage? What market are we going to target? And I think you need to have answers to many of those questions to at least get started. So I can't.
And I hate writing business plans. I hate it. It's one of the, I despise writing them. But at the end of the day, it's very, very important. I mean, the Grindhouse Radio business plan is thick, and it continues to evolve. You know what I mean, over the years. So, like, when I say write a business plan, it doesn't have to be super, in detail, but it's going to help you. So the more detail you do put in, the more time you put into it, the more research, the better off you're going to be, and the more it will help you because you're utilizing it as a tool, not just for yourself, for your business, and for the potential of getting investors, being able to go and get loans, whatever it may be, to help take your business to the next level.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you'll hear about my startup a little bit later, but Richard sits on a couple of investor groups, or is in a couple of investor groups, one in Westchester, one here in New York, and one here in New Jersey. And, I'm building my business to sell it. And the first thing he says is, well, if you ever want to sell this business, you better build it for an investor. So this is what investors want. And that has to go into the business plan, and it really focuses you, right?
And so I think entrepreneurism, business, it's a mind challenge, it's a mind game. You have to figure out solutions lots of times without all the information. And so everything that you can do to help promote the kind of the vision of the business is going to help you. So one thing is doing a business plan. Another piece is, strangely, intellectual property, because a lot of people are concerned about starting a project and putting it out there in the public without really having the resources to protect against somebody else taking the idea. So, and sometimes that's a realistic fear, sometimes it's not, but at least having the intellectual property on file frees them up now to go out and start talking with people about their project, and that helps promote them. So it serves the purpose of protecting it in a legal sense, but also freeing them up to pursue it fully. So those are all tools that the entrepreneur needs to be aware of, and in order to help them succeed. So
absolutely, I agree with you 100%. I mean, trademarks are huge. You need to protect your IP. It's very, very important. I can't tell you how many people I've seen try to get into any of the industries, and they're excited, and they put all this time and this effort and this money into building they like a new sauce, like a new hot sauce, and they go, oh man, this is gonna be the best thing since sliced bread. Everybody's gonna buy it, and they have this name, and they could spend lots of money on artwork and so forth, and then they go and they put it out, and then all of a sudden, well, you need to do a recall because somebody else owned that name because you didn't do Google or a trademark search. And now they're coming at you, and now you're losing hand over fist, money. And that, and now you have to start from square one,
And too many. And so one of the purposes of our show is to promote IP awareness so that things like that don't happen to people. And IP is a piece of the puzzle. It's not the whole puzzle, but we want to make sure that people don't make those kinds of mistakes because we see it all the time.
Right. And trademark searches are tricky because I'm not an attorney, so I'm not speaking from a legal sense, but even if the name is close to yours or is highly recognized, like if somebody wanted to do Brimstone and you have Brimstone, I don't think they could get it, right? Because it'd be
tough.
Close.
Yeah, it'd be
so you
very
can't.
close.
Yeah. So you have to look at what's close too. So that's why you need somebody who knows what they're doing to help you with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what are the barriers to entry, right? And so it may be that your brand is already so big that nobody can get in. Just pure practicality. It may be you need some legal help. It really depends on the situation. But the goal is, go ahead.
No, and it's funny because a lot of people write Brimstone, and it's hilarious because I'm like, it's very simple name to write. It's really simple. It's not hard. But yeah, so it's funny. And there have been, again, over the years, with social media and so forth, you've got people that, they try to pretend to be me, and I don't write on any other message boards or anything other than my official social media and my official website, and that is it. So, it's funny because there's so many, gimmick, fake sites that come up with Brimstone and so forth. And, you got to go after them. You know what I mean? You have to go after them because,
do.
that's.
So
Yeah.
I want to just clarify this then. So your website is the real brimstone.com. Is that your social media as well?
So what do you call it? Back when I first went to get the social media handles, because I'm an old school guy. So when I was first, taking on the Brimstone name, I was just like, I don't need to have this right away. I don't need to have that right away. And then all of a sudden I needed it, and I go, oh my God. So yeah, I don't have the real Brimstone for everything. But the most important one, Instagram is what I use mostly. It's at the real Brimstone. It's verified. It's me. What do you call it? That's one of the best places to find me. That aligns with my official website at therealbrimstone.com. I've got Twitter at entrance to hell, which again is just a gimmick, guys. It's just a gimmick. What do you call it? But that was one of the reasons, back when brimstone.com was taken, and I haven't been able to get that back since. What do you call it? It's before I knew. I had no idea. You're talking about well over 20 years ago. The internet was new. Who knew? And so I lost brimstone.com, and somebody took the Brimstone name on Twitter. So at entrance to hell was my official website and my Twitter for the longest time. But since I rebranded, redid everything about a year and change ago, I switched everything over to therealbrimstone.com. It's just more professional in general. And since I'm not wrestling anymore, it made no sense. So yeah, and again on Facebook is just Brimstone. That's verified as well, so it's me.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have to wind down this segment and take a break,
But stay with us.
Stay with us.
So
It's
hanging.
It's been awesome talking with you. Absolutely. And you're listening to Passage to Profit, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back, everybody, to Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gerhart.
Boy, Brimstone was great, wasn't he?
He was. I mean, he's an awesome, off the charts kind of guy, and we love them at Passage to Profit. So, and they don't come along very often.
No, so if you missed it,
But
our podcast is out tomorrow.
Yep, it is, and it's available on all podcast platforms. You can listen to the interview a second time, or you can check out our YouTube channel and look at all the happy faces
and see if you recognize Brimstone from all the stuff he's been in.
Maybe we'll even get a horror model post or something from him. So
anyway, on to.
So speaking of off the charts, we have with us Kenya Gibson from iHeartRadio. Hi, Kenya.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
And tell us about your Power Move segment.
So for Power Move, we're going to talk about Marcus Lemonis. He's from CNBC's The Profit. He is an unofficial angel investor into a platform called Able and Ready. It's a ride share business that was started by a woman who was diagnosed with cerebral palsy since she was young and hasn't been able to get around. So she decided to create this transportation services to serve the elderly and disabled. And he reached out to her and, made a significant donation to her platform. And he's been using his celebrity influence to help her raise funds by other celebrity donations. So I thought that was super nice of him and a real power move, because we should use our resources to sow into other people's dreams. And I thought that was great.
That's really awesome. It just shows everybody has a heart, and he has a heart. And, I applaud that social giving. I think it's wonderful. Do you know the name of her platform?
Yeah, it's called Able and Ready, and the GoFundMe is Able and Ready Transportation. So if you go to GoFundMe, it's under there. Her goal is $1 million by September. So then she can get all the transportation logistics in place and they can really get it off the ground. But what I thought was interesting too is one of his missions and goals is to help keep Main Street USA alive, especially with everything that's happened with the pandemic. But thought that was a great story and was important to share.
Well, that is amazing. So the person who's starting this is a young woman who has cerebral palsy.
Correct. So she was diagnosed with it at a very young age. Her name is Rhonda Clark.
Right.
So yeah, so she has been dealing with this and she doesn't have any capacity to drive herself at all. So she, was inspired to, create this ride share services for everyone who is experiencing that so they can have a better quality of life.
Well, hats off to them both.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand how difficult it would be not to be able to get around on your own. I mean, people who can get around. So this is really, really important for a lot of people, quality of life. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kenya. And now it's time for Elizabeth to give her update on Fireside. So,
yay. So Fireside is my startup. It's a video directory of small businesses. And I've been working on it for the last year. I've been doing interviews of small business owners, and now I'm taking the content and trying and getting a website built that will put the content in the form I need it to be in so that I can attract more business. And I have filed for my trademarks for both the name and the logo.
she had to pay a lot for those, by the way.
And I was in the process of drafting a patent application. I'm a patent agent at Gerhardt Law and Marketing. Drafting a patent application on a lot of the ideas we have around it when my computer decided to bust itself. Well, it flung itself off the sofa somehow.
That had nothing to do with the frustration of the user, did it?
No, I didn't. It was totally an accident. Anyway, so my computer's in the repair shop, and I'm trying to get by on a tablet, which is torture. Anyway, so that's where I'm at. I'm still working on the new website and on the patent application, and hopefully the trademarks will come through soon.
And she's really grumpy without a computer. It's like you take her computer away, and she's just not the same person.
But
going through computer withdrawal.
Yeah. So, well, I have a huge monitor, right? and this little tiny tablet is like, But anyway, enough about me.
All right.
So I want to introduce our first presenter. His name is Adam Baker. And I talked about the power chewers. He's got something for the power chewers in your life with Soda Pup. So welcome, Adam.
Thank you. Yeah, so I started Soda Pup in 2013. In the beginning, it was a side hustle. I was working a corporate job. I'd worked in the sporting goods industry for most of my career. And, I'd watched the pet industry throughout 2008 when we had a deep recession and the industry was growing by 4%. And I'm a dog lover, and I thought I would love to be involved in a recession-proof business. And so I started studying the market, and I found a couple of things. The first thing is that the toy category in the pet industry was very slow moving. In fact, each time I went in to buy products, it was the same assortment month after month, year after year. And coming from a product creation background, I worked for Nike and Under Armour and Crocs footwear, and we're creating new products every 6 months. And so I thought, well, what if I can create a fashion cycle to the pet toy industry? The other thing that we focus on big consumer products is consumer. So 53% of American households have a dog, so we have to assume these consumers are not all alike. So the second thing we did was we segmented our consumers, and we built different product ranges for different types of consumers. So with our Soda Pup brand, which is targeting suburban moms with 2.5 kids and a dog, we make a product that looks like a coffee cup. It looks like her Starbucks. And it's a treat dispenser. It's ultra durable. For a different consumer, we have a brand called USA Canine. We make grenades, and it's for dudes with big breed dogs and pickup trucks and, tough guys with tough dogs. So we made tough looking toys for them. So segmentation is a key part of our strategy. And then the last thing we wanted to do is just give consumers what they want. And what they want is products that last. They want products that are made in the USA, and they want products that are safe. So we produce everything in the USA. Everything is FDA compliant. And the shapes are relevant to different people's lives. And so we've built a collection of products with different trademarks, trade names for each brand. And so we sell these segmented product ranges to different types of consumers. And so we've been at it for 8 years. And I would say, I didn't have a business plan. I did have a business model in mind. And it's been a long and winding road. But the pandemic, as unfortunate as it is, has been a boon for the pet industry because people are at home with their dogs on Zoom calls, and they need to keep their dogs occupied. And mostly we make, durable chew toys, enrichment toys, etc., to keep dogs busy. So that's what Soda Pup is.
So Brimstone, do you have any questions or comments for Adam?
In terms of what you're doing, no, I think it's great. I have a new puppy. What do you call it, Jasper, who is his own little brand. Got Jasper. What do you call it? And he actually has 3 endorsements currently. So we'll have to talk about some stuff that you're doing.
Perfect.
Definitely a cool thing.
Yeah, we'll do the Brimstone line.
Kenya?
Yeah, I was taking a look at your website. I love the licking mat. I never thought of that as a solution for dogs and the benefits that come from pets licking, as like their saliva helps their digestion, I saw.
So, the licking mat is interesting. You were talking about diversifying your business, Brimstone. And so, we started our business with rubber dog toys. It has a very specific manufacturing process. And then we diversified into nylon toys, which is a different type of material, different type of injection molding. And then finally, just this spring, we moved into lick mats. And it's been a crazy surprise for us. We didn't invent lick mats, we just made them better. So again, we focused on what was wrong with the products that were out there and how could we make improvements on that. And so the biggest advantage of our lick mats are they're really fun and innovative designs that aren't available in the marketplace. But more importantly, it takes dogs a lot longer to lick the material or the food out. And so you get more licking and fewer calories. So it's just a better product.
Well, and you have those for cats too, right?
It's the same product. It just works great for cats as well as for dogs.
I didn't know that cats were big lickers, but I guess they are.
They are, absolutely. And there are many benefits to licking. It has a soothing effect on dogs and cats. It produces saliva, it helps digestion, does a lot of other things. And it's enriching. It triggers for a dog, it triggers the natural foraging instincts that the dog would have. So most people know they need to exercise their dogs, but you also need to give your dogs mental stimulation. So that's what a lick mat does.
So your website is sodapup.com. Can people buy directly from your website?
They sure can. Yeah, Soda Pup. It's SODAPUP, not Soda Pop. Soda Pup.
Right. So SODAPUP.com. If you've got a dog or even a cat, go check out what Adam has on his website. I guarantee you'll love it.
If you have a pet that loves to lick, this is the place to go. So.
Or chew if it's a dog. So
Or chew.
Yeah.
We offer a 30-day replacement guarantee, which no other brand does. It's a trust business. People need to believe that the product will work.
I guess you can say you lick the competition.
It's a dog eat dog world, Richard. We have to be better than this.
Well, I'll tell you, the next time our son and his wife come to visit with their dogs, I'm getting those lick mats.
Great.
So unfortunately, we're out of time for this segment, but that sounds like a wonderful line of products. It's taking something that's been around forever to the next level and making something new that's even better, which is innovation, which is what this show is all about. So thank you very much, Adam. You can find his products at sodapup.com. And listeners, you are listening to Passage to Profit, the Inventor's Show with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart on WOR 710, the Voice of New York. And we will be right back. Welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Passage to Profit, the Inventor's Show on WOR 710 with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart. And our special guest today, Brimstone. If you missed any of the show so far, it's been great. We've had one presenter, we have 2 more, and these are products of the future, if I may say that. I don't know if that's trademarked by anybody, but we're really looking at innovation here, and we have
probably is. You're probably infringing.
We have such innovative people here. So with us for our next presenters, we have Brian Finkel, all the way from Israel, and David Zinn from LA with Devash Organics. Welcome, guys. Tell us what Devash is.
Thanks for having us. Devash is the premier provider and purveyor of date products in the US today. We've got a wide variety of different products that we sell to thousands of supermarkets across the US, including Costco, Whole Foods, Walmart, CVS, Whole Foods, and Sprouts, just to name a few. We also sell our products on Amazon, on our website, devashorganics.com, and a variety of other online platforms. And we sell things ranging from date syrup to whole dates to chocolate covered date bites to date bars. And we're really the first company in the US, at least, to really put the date front and center, and really use really lean into the date. There are people who have sold dates before across the world, across the US. Dates are featured as an ingredient in various products that we eat every day, but there's nobody who's really taken the date, and said we are dates. We're looking to do for dates what Heinz did for ketchup, and what Coca-Cola did for cola. We want to do for dates, and we're on our way.
That's really amazing. So they have they're a natural sweetener, right? I mean, and you can use them for cooking or in jellies. I mean, you talked about a wide range of products.
Sure. I mean, dates are great for snacking on their own. But they're also great as an ingredient, whether they're mashed up into a paste or into a sugar powder, or a syrup. There's so many different tastes and textures. There's also so many varieties of dates grown, throughout the world, mostly in the Middle East, but not only. And it's kind of like the Middle Eastern, the culinary world's best kept secret. These are dates have been around in that region for thousands of years, and David and I both grew up in the Midwest. I'm from Chicago. He's from Cleveland. We never really had dates, and we're trying to really, reintroduce the date to Americans and bring it from the sort of exotic, aisle to the main center store.
Well, we hope you went on dates every once in a while, but Brimstone.
Oh, please. Brimstone, do you have any advice for these guys or questions?
Well, first of all, I took my wife out on a date about 20 years ago, and we're still together. So dates are a wonderful thing. No, I think I'm very well versed in the food world. I do a lot in the foodie world. I did a food series for 3 seasons, and I actually have one that's going to be coming out soon. So we definitely need to talk as well. What do you call it? I think that it's fantastic. You guys are in all the right places. I mean, you're talking about all the big brand retailers, all the big box stores that you guys are in. I mean, I think that it's fantastic, and I think that what you're doing is amazing. So best of luck to you on that.
Thanks so much.
Kenya, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was taking a look at your ingredients. The first thing I noticed is you have there's no chemicals, which is very rare to see on an ingredient label. And I'm so interested because I've been using superfoods to correct my insulin resistance as of late. And I think what you're doing is so important in the marketplace because we want things to taste good. We want them to be sweet, but we also want them to be healthy. So kind of where do you see your brand growing and progressing from here?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that you hit on some really important points. First of all, dates themselves are low glycemic products. So you mentioned the insulin and those issues. So, obviously, consult with your physician, but they're definitely more for people who are watching their sugar intake. Dates are a good solution if you still crave that sweetness. And you also mentioned the clean label. We believe that dates, they're doing the hard work for us in terms of bringing the sweetness. We don't need to add any junk. We don't need to add preservatives. We don't need to add sugar. We never add sugar to any of our products. And I think that we really, in terms of next steps, we really hit on some white space in the grocery and also e-commerce food space, because you have a lot of stuff that's junk, a lot of added sugar, a lot of preservatives and additives. That's just not healthy. It might taste great, but it's not healthy. And then you have other stuff out there that that might be healthier, but it doesn't taste good. And we sort of we get to sort of enjoy the best of both worlds in that way because it's better and it's better for you. And so it also has the added benefit of being non-GMO and paleo friendly and lower sugar than other similar sugars and similar products, and all natural and vegan. And so it's just opened up a lot of doors. I mean, I mentioned before, we're in stores ranging from Walmart on one end all the way to, Whole Foods on the other. So, we really, there's, we think this should be these products should really be a staple for everyone.
Well, dates are delicious, and I hate to say this. My mother used to make date nut cookies, so kind of destroying. But she loved dates, and we ate them all the time. They have a really interesting flavor, and I think that they are a good snack food because of the glycemic index, and for kids because they're sweet and they're a nice flavor. So I would really encourage everybody to go to the Devash Organics and go into Whole Foods and look for these dates. It's
like the new miracle food. I'm just
Right.
I'm fascinated how you guys took this from something that, as you said, was the best kept secret and elevated it now to almost a new product category. It's like I'm trying to be low glycemic index in my eating, and finding something sweet that doesn't kill you is pretty challenging. We were just talking about that this morning.
I've got a punchline for you. Beyond fruitcake, the renaissance of the date. Because we don't think of fruitcakes and dates, right? But they really are delicious and they're good snacks.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Unfortunately, we have to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
So the website is dvashorganics.com.
And they're everywhere. So just make sure you go into the store and pick up some date stuff.
So you're listening to Passage to Profit, the Inventor Show with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, our special guest, Brimstone. And if you missed any of it, the podcast will be out tomorrow. And you can see everybody on our YouTube channel. And you may recognize Brimstone from some of the film work he's done. And and we're on WOR 710, the Voice of New York. We'll be right back. Welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Passage to Profit, the Inventor Show on WOR 710. And we are on to our third presenter. And all I'm going to say is, where has this been? Like, this is the most innovative product. And
this was the hook that you used to keep our audience tuned in
this show is all about innovation. I'm not going to say anything about our product. I'm going to let Michelle Whitus tell us everything. Welcome, Michelle.
Well, thank you for having me. And I hope I do not become a disappointment with such a big intro. But first of all, we all love a freshly made bed, but no one likes to make it. So I've created a new product called Toasty Sheets. It's such a great feeling when you get into bed at night, but in the morning, we're all so busy. It's just a pain of a chore of bed making. That top sheet, you have to constantly run around your bed and align it. You have to lift a heavy mattress, create these, what some of you, if I date myself, the hospital corners, and tuck everything in. And you realize, oh, I've done it wrong, to start over again. And it's super difficult for people who have younger children, who are elderly or disabled. Or if you're just like me, a busy mom, pulling teeth with your teenage kids. And personally, I don't have time for it as a busy mom. And realistically, I'm just a little bit lazy and I hate making my bed. So what I've done is I've created something that will help make that chore of changing your bed into an easy to do ritual in the morning. I've created our product. It's called Toasty Sheets, and I've incorporated an elastic seam at the bottom so it fits perfectly onto the foot of your mattress. So it's as if I've taken a hybrid of your flat sheet and your fitted sheet, and I've married them together. So now you instantly know that top from the bottom. So I've taken that guesswork out for you. So you can just hook it onto the bottom of your bed and just pull it up, and they'll stay in place all night. It's flexible, so it's not really tight and constrictive. And that's what happens when you get into bed and you end up pulling those sheets and making them come undone. So we've created it so it comes up a little bit on the side, so I can still have my temperature foot and it's still, nice and comfy. Everything I'm doing in my company and what I'm creating, I've created this in an organic material, certified organic, and a beautiful purple weave. So I like to say they're luxury sheets for busy people. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to eliminate plastic out of our company. So everything I do, it comes just packaged in recycled material in a reusable shopping tote. And I'm just really glad to introduce you to it. And that's where I am. I started back in February where we launched. And here I am trying to teach the whole world how to make your bed easier.
Yeah.
So Michelle, I was just going to say, I'm glad I'm not the only one that has a temperature foot, because when I go to bed at night, I have to have some part of my body hanging out of the bedclothes in order to feel comfortable. It's like I have to keep like a foot or an arm or something outside the sheets to balance the temperature under the sheets. So
yeah, so it's a top sheet that has its own tuck-in system at the bottom. And so you don't, I mean, I can't tuck in a bottom sheet. I've never done a military corner.
No.
This is perfect for someone like me.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm the same way. I just throw it on there and hope for the best. And I just stumbled upon it by accident when I had packed 2 fitted sheets on a trip. And I put it on there and I wanted my top sheet. So I hooked the bottom and I said, why don't I have this? This was so easy. And especially when my kids were a bit younger then, they had a bed against a wall, same thing, just throw it on there, hope for the best. And then they would never stay on, and then to yell at my kids constantly to make their bed. It was a pain and it was torturous. And with that, at the same time, my father ended up in a convalescent home and he had mobility limitations. And so he couldn't, lift up and tuck himself in. And I thought, you know what, this really is great. I need to start looking into this.
Kenya, do you have a question for Michelle?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm one of those people, and this might be strange, I don't ever use the top sheet because I just can't be bothered with any of that. So I only would use the fitted anyway. So this is great because now you can actually have the top sheet and have the whole set and the whole experience, because before this, I would never even bother with the whole top sheet thing. I just wouldn't use it. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Let me go to Brimstone real quick. So Brimstone, how easy is it for you to make your bed? Do you like this?
I have a wife.
Oh.
And
Oh.
she is awesome. And what do you call it? She is a stickler for making the bed, and we have all the pillows and all that jazz. You know what I mean? So we have a nice big bed. What do you call it? But yeah, I am the worst at making beds. Something like this sounds like it would make life a hell of a lot easier. She would be absolutely, in love with this. So I actually just messaged your website to her as we've been speaking. So so fantastic. And for me, in terms of I'm constantly on tour, so I'm all over the place. And it's just the worst going from bed to bed to bed in all the different hotels. So you should be speaking to people like the Hilton and the Marriott and getting your sheets up in there. So
We're working on it. That's our hope. That's our hope.
That sounds great.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just real quick, do these come in all the bed sizes?
Yes. So I started with a small launch, launched in February, and it has your king, queen, full, and twin. And we haven't moved on to any of the extra long or California king yet. This is our first run right now of 1,000 units. And in our next run, we will offer new colors and additional sizes.
Excellent. Well, we're running out of time. Richard's poking me here. So I do want to say your website. It's Toasty Sheets. So TOE, like your toe, STY.
Oh, I
Sheets.
thought it was
Yes,
like
we keep
toast.
your
Yeah,
toes
you eat your toast.
tucked in.
Oh,
Your
okay.
toes.
It's your
TOESTY
Toasy.
sheets.
Okay. Got it.
ToastySheets.com.
Toasty.
Thank you.
I'll say that again at the end. So I expect to see these everywhere in the next couple of years. I wish you all the luck in the world because this is a brilliant, innovative idea. And we are out of time for this segment. So you are listening to WOR 710, Passage to Profit, The Inventor Show, Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, and our special guest, Brimstone. And don't go away. We've got a few more things to say at the end of the show. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, our special guest this evening, Brimstone. And I didn't get a chance to ask him, where's the fire in Brimstone? But but maybe he'll tell us a little bit later. Who knows?
Maybe he doesn't need fire. Maybe he's strong enough. I mean, he is a wrestler. Probably throw me across the room. Anyway, Anyway, so if you want to find out more about Brimstone, you've probably seen him on TV or in a movie or something. You can find his website at therealbrimstone.com, and that's Brimstone, Brimstone, no E in the middle. Okay.
And find out about how he wrestles with entrepreneurship, because he
Oh.
does have an entrepreneurship column on his
No,
website.
he actually, if you look at his IMDb profile, he is into so many things, and he's got children's things and everything. So he's very extremely interesting person. I urge you to look him up. And then we had Kenya doing our Power Move segment, and Kenya is with iHeart, and her email is Kenya Gibson with a P at iHeartMedia.com. And Kenya was the brilliance behind this show. It was her idea. She can help
Well,
you.
you'd be the judge, but
We all were. I can't take full credit.
The idea was good. It's the execution we're still working on.
Okay, that's fun. But anyway, but seriously, if you want to be on radio, or you want to do some advertising, or you want digital marketing help, Kenya is really good at all of that with iHeart. She can help you with any iHeart needs you may have. And I talked about my startup Fireside directory. And then we had Adam Baker with sodapup.com. So SODAPUP.com. Pet toys and products that are next generation, let's call it. So you really want to go on his website and look at everything he has for mostly dogs, but cats too. And then we had Brian Finkel and David Zinn with Dvash Organics, DVASH organics.com.
It's the new superfood. Dates are here to stay.
Yes, very good. Thank you. And then we had Michelle Whitus with her amazing sheets, the top sheet that never comes undone. It's TOE, like toe, STY sheets.com. She's just started out. That's why you're not seeing these at the Marriott yet, but just wait. A year from now, they're going to be everywhere, and you're going to want your own, probably be a waiting list. So anyway.
And she and I have a lot in common because we both have a temperature foot. So
right. So if you missed any of the show, you can find us on the podcast tomorrow or on YouTube.
Yeah, it's been absolutely a pleasure. Brimstone, before we sign off, can you give our audience a few words of?
Stay innovative, people. Aspire to inspire. And just, if you're looking to do something, just stick with it, because just about when you're ready to give up, that's when big things happen. Stay outside of the comfort zone. That's when big things happen. And again, thank you so much for having me on the show. So many amazing, innovative people on this show. And I wish them all the best of luck from the bottom of my heart. I'm so glad to see so many people, doing so many cool things.
Couldn't agree more. Kenya, do you have any final thoughts?
I don't think I can top that, to be quite honest. It was great being part of the conversation, and I couldn't, agree more that we need to stay creative and stay slightly out of the box.
I think that's very well said. And I'd like to thank our audience for listening. We love you. We'll be back again next week with another episode of Passage to Profit at the same time and at the same station. This is Richard and Elizabeth signing off. But before we do, I want to take the opportunity to thank the whole team at iHeart and everybody who makes this show possible. Noah Fleischman, our producer, our production assistant, Alicia Morrissey. Chatterbox is our video editor. Chatterboss, that's right. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So this is Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart signing off on WOR 710, the voice of New York.
Oh, that's a great show.